Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Hey, I'm back. Gonna be back. Want to go ahead and continue our off-season college hoops grades series. If you've been paying attention on the YouTube channel, obviously all of these will end up on the podcast feed as well. But we started with Kentucky a week ago, did some Indiana a few days ago, really enjoy what Mike Woodson did. Today, I want to go ahead and continue the conversation on what I just find to be one of the more fascinating programs anywhere in college basketball. Certainly this offseason, we've talked about them basically player for player as they've added players to their roster. That is the Arkansas Razorbacks. By the way, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, we do have our Torres-specific Arkansas page, Torres on the Hogs. If you are an Arkansas fan and you are on social media, Twitter, make sure to follow there. But Arkansas, fascinating, right? Coach Muss, when that USC job opened, you kind of got the sense that that was one he'd be interested in. And you find out pretty quickly that they are interested in him. And by Friday afternoon of the Final Four, Eric Musselman officially accepts the USC job. From there, you hear a little bit of Chris Beard. From there, you hear a little bit of Jerome Tang. Both those guys turned down the job. And eventually what ends up happening, we all know what ended up happening, was it was just crazy because you didn't really know what was going to happen after that. Is Will Wade a candidate? Is he not? Is Darrell Walker a candidate? Is he not? Is Buzz Williams a candidate? Is he not? And then all of a sudden, seemingly out of nowhere, Hunter Yurachek pulls a rabbit out of his hat in a story first reported. I always want to give credit to my buddy Wes Moore, whatever it was, about 9 Eastern, 8 Central, whatever it was, on that Sunday of the Final Four. John Calipari is going to Arkansas, and we're going to break it all down, the 9-man class, what it means, how good can they be next year. But with it all said, I just got one question for you, baby. That question, it's pretty straightforward. Can anything stop the Big Pig invasion? That's right, kid. Anything stop the Big Pig invasion? How about Hunter Yurachek? Hunter Yurachek pulling the rabbit out of his hat. We got to credit John Tyson. We all get that. I called him John Dyson. I've talked about the Chicken Man 100 times this offseason. I don't know why I called him John Dyson, but it's John Tyson. We know that. Anyway, let's get back to basketball because this was just one of the most surreal things that I have ever covered and can ever remember and probably ever will cover in all of college basketball. But at the same time, these are off-season grades, so let's get to what has happened in Arkansas since Coach Cal took over. Because I think much of college basketball, the audience that cares about college basketball, one, maybe you just checked out after a while. But two, I don't think people fully realize just how impressive what Coach Cal has done this offseason. Bottom line, first of all, let's start with this. Even before he left for Arkansas, he had that kind of weird radio interview, and then he did the thing with the AD Mitch Barnhart, where he basically admitted, listen, I'm never going to give up recruiting freshmen, but we have to scale it back. And he even said before he left Kentucky, he said, I'm never going to stop recruiting freshmen. That's who I am. That's what I believe in. But at the same time, it can't be 6, 7, 8 freshmen. We got to pick the 2 or 3 that we really like. And that's how we're going to have to move forward. Now, obviously, he had 6 committed at Kentucky. If he had stayed at Kentucky, I assume all 6 would have enrolled. But I bring it up because to his credit, one, he was able to get a couple really high-profile freshmen to go to Arkansas. But 2, he kept his word. There were 6 players committed to him at Kentucky. 3 of them end up following him to Arkansas. Now, I'll admit, the 4th one, Jaden Quaytons, I'm almost certain if it had worked out, that Cal would have absolutely taken him. But at the same time, I think that's the first thing that needs some credit. Because when Cal left for Arkansas, what did we hear? Is Cal's brand really that big, or is it the Kentucky brand that has brought in all those players? And so for him to bring in Boogie Flant, for him to bring in Carter Knox, both McDonald's All-Americans, for him to bring in Billy Richmond, a 4-star that I believe has NBA upside. I think to me, that is a huge deal. Now, I know what people will say. People say, well, they were committed to him at Kentucky. Of course they're going to follow him. And it's like, whoa, wait a second now. You can't say that it's all the Kentucky brand when he leaves. And then when they commit to him at Arkansas, say, oh, well, of course they were always going to follow him. It speaks to, you can like him, you can hate him, but he builds real relationships. Kids believe in him. Kids trust in his vision. And I think what's especially impressive, and I talked about this a lot back in April when all this was going down, but I think what's especially impressive to me is pretty straightforward, is that all those kids clearly did have other options if they wanted them. And none of them really considered it. But beyond that, it's not like they all had a previous relationship with Arkansas. It's not like Boogie Flan chose Kentucky over Arkansas, but he had already been on campus 5-6 times and kind of knew the lay of the land. Same with Billy Richmond, same with Carter Knox. And so the fact that Cal was able to convince 3 of those kids, 2 McDonald's All-Americans, 3 top 25 prospects, like, hey, I know you're new to this place, but I'm still the same guy. All the promises that I made you when I was at the other place, they are going to still come true if you come here. So credit to him, because all 3 basically took one visit and then boom, they were committed just like that. Beyond that, I also think it's worth noting, brought 3 guys, 3 really good players with him from Kentucky. And you could sit there and say, well, of course they're going to follow Cal. Whoa, wait a second now. All I was told was how toxic everything was at Kentucky, how he was over the hill, how nobody believed in him, how his message wasn't working, all that good stuff. So the fact that he got 3 guys to follow him, 3 that he wanted, I think is huge. Now, Big Z is a little bit different. He was the first commit. Listen, I always thought Big Z was going to be loyal to Cal. Cal really fought for him throughout all that stuff with the NCAA, stuff, by the way, with Kentucky's admissions department. Cal always had his back. So that one totally didn't surprise me. But I'll say this, go back and look. When Adu Thiero entered the transfer portal, most of the speculation was he ain't coming back to play for Coach Cal. He's going to have options. He's going to go other places. And oh, by the way, he did have other options. North Carolina wanted him bad. Obviously, his hometown school of Pitt, University of Pittsburgh wanted him bad. He had other options, and we were told when he entered the portal, he ain't coming back to play for Coach Cal. So the fact that Coach Cal, that 25, 30-year relationship with his family, his dad played for Coach Cal at Memphis, it clearly played a role. And then I'll continue to say what I truly believe on DJ Wagner. I think this kid is a difference maker, and I think this kid has such an unfair reputation from his year at Kentucky. No, it didn't work out perfect. No, I understand. At one point, he was the number 1 high school player in the class. Clearly, we're not saying that he played to that level. But the best version of Kentucky that we saw all year was when DJ Wagner was not only in the starting lineup, but healthy. Everybody wants to say, why didn't you play Rob Dillingham more? Why'd you play Reed Shepard? Those guys played a lot. But I remember saying this in the middle of the season. The best version was when DJ Wagner was healthy, because then Reed Shepard could be kind of on the ball, but he could also be off the ball. He wasn't at his best when he's setting everybody else up. He was at his best when he could catch and go, catch and shoot, catch and transition and make plays. That's not a knock on Reed Shepard. It's a compliment to DJ Wagner, and it's the same with Rob Dillingham. Rob Dillingham is a guy, and I believe this will be his NBA role, and we'll talk about it as his career unfolds. But Rob Dillingham, the best version of Rob Dillingham was not playing 32 minutes a game, because he was going to have those moments where he's really, really, really hot and can't miss from the field and all that. But he's going to have those moments where he's really cold as well. And so I always believe the best version was DJ Wagner starting, Reed and Rob coming off the bench, Antonio Reeves playing a bunch of minutes, but then he gets hurt. He comes back. He's not the same player. Go back and look at the box scores from when he was healthy. He was maybe the best guard on the floor against Florida early in the season when you win at the O-Dome against a really good Florida team. He was excellent against North Carolina, which was obviously a team that ended up winning the ACC and earning a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. So DJ is a dude that I believe in, and credit to Cal for bringing 3 guys that he wanted from Kentucky. And then maybe the most impressive part was what he did in the portal, because it's one thing to say, we're going to bring in more transfers. We have to get older. It's another thing to actually do it. And really what's impressive to me is this, is that what it says to me, you get John L. Davis, whatever it is, 18, 19 points per game from Florida Atlantic, played in a Final Four. You get Jonas Adu. To me, that's an important one, and I'll tell you why. It's because we on the outside, me and the media, I listen to the noise like everybody else. And when Cal loses a big game, I hear the noise of like, oh, this guy's overrated. He stinks. And it's just interesting to me that two players that could have gone pretty much anywhere. Jonas Aidoo had plenty of options. Remember, we talked about this when it happened. Went to Baylor. I think Baylor expected a commitment that weekend when he was there. Doesn't commit. North Carolina wanted him. His home state school was North Carolina. And so Arkansas gets him. He played in the SEC against Cal. He heard the noise. Is Cal overrated? Whatever. And Jonas Aidoo said, I still want to go play for that guy. Same with John L. Davis, who clearly could have gone pretty much anywhere. And same, by the way, with Trevin Brazile. Great late pickup. I love the pickup, and we talked about it when he committed, is I like it for a pretty simple reason. To me, the Trevin Brazile edition is an all upside, no downside situation. People not familiar with Trevin Brazile, 6'11" kid, was averaging like 11 points and 6 rebounds per game in the 2022-2023 season. So not this past season, but the season before. And I only bring it up because Trevin Brazile was playing at an All-American level, basically. He was the best player maybe on that team. Gets hurt, wasn't the same player this past season. But I only bring it up because, by the way, he missed all of the rest of the 2022-2023 season. But why I bring it up is pretty straightforward. It's because, in my opinion, this is the important part about that whole situation. When he was at his best, he was playing like a first-round pick. I think he was trending to be a first-round pick in the 2023 NBA draft. He gets hurt. And so why it's an all upside, zero downside proposition is pretty straightforward. It's because if he doesn't pop, in the worst case scenario, you just got another 7-foot body with SEC experience that can eat up minutes, commit fouls, make a shot or two here or there. But if he clicks, now all of a sudden you got a first rounder that you weren't necessarily expecting. And I'm not saying he'll be a first round pick. I'm saying he has that type of talent. And so you look at that 9-man rotation. I said it when Trevin Brazile committed. People can argue with me. People can debate me. People can whatever. But I truly believe this. I truly believe in my heart that right now, Arkansas is the best top 9 in college basketball. Now they only have 9, and that's where it gets interesting. And by the way, you heard what I said. I said they have the best top 9. Did not say they have the best roster in college basketball. Alabama's my number 1. Kansas is my number 2. UConn's my number 3. And there's other there's other teams that are in that conversation. Duke's going to be really good. Arizona's going to be really good. Baylor's going to be really good. Whatever. Houston obviously going to be really good as well. So I'm not sitting here saying that this is the best team in college basketball, but that top 9, yeah, I'm sorry. I'll say it. I'm not ashamed to say it. I think they're as good as anybody in college basketball. Now, what's going to be interesting is 9 enough? Because again, that's their roster. They are not, as of right now, I don't believe, planning on adding anybody else from a scholarship perspective. And you look at everybody else. UConn's at 12 scholarships. Alabama's at 13. Kentucky's at 12. Kansas, I believe, is at 12. This is a calculated risk by John Calipari, but I'll be honest, I don't hate it, and I'll tell you why. It's because at the end of the day, John Calipari, and we've talked about this all spring, he got burned by having too many guys in that rotation at this time last year at Kentucky. And it's not his fault because, again, at this time last year, one of his centers, Aaron Bradshaw, gets hurt. One of his centers, Agana and Yenso, gets hurt. All of a sudden, he has no size. So he has to add Trey Mitchell. He has to add Big Z over the summer. And then all of a sudden, everybody got healthy right at the same time in March. Now you got to figure out how to play 11 players in a sport that there's only 5 guys on the court. There's only one ball. There's only so many minutes to go around. And this is a calculated risk by Cal. We'll find out if it works, but I don't hate it because the alternative is doing something you don't believe in. The alternative is not learning the lesson from last season. So it'll be fascinating to see. But at the end of the day, Arkansas, he was at Kentucky with 11 guys that all want to play. He's only at 9 now. But if I got to give Cal a grade, I'm going to do it. I'm giving him an A. Kept the guys he wanted to keep, brought 5-star recruits, hit the portal and got probably 2 of the top 20 guys in the portal that had no affiliation with him. By the way, you had Big Z Adu and DJ Wagner. That's probably 5 of the top 40 or 50, whatever it was. I did my ranking of the portal a few weeks ago. But I just bring it up because I look at this team. I look at this roster. That top 9 is as good as anybody. Now, I know what everybody's going to say. We'll see what happens in March. I know all the Kentucky fans are going to tell me, well, it doesn't matter because he stinks in March. We all know. Okay, I get it. These are offseason grades. I can only judge based on what I have seen this offseason. I love this team. I love the 9 that he has. We'll find out if 9 isn't enough. There's not a huge margin for error. But again, the alternative is having 11 dudes that are all healthy playing at the same time. So my grade for Arkansas is an A. Congrats, Hog fans, because I think you are going to have one of the most entertaining rosters in college basketball. The schedule's coming together. Oh, by the way, you're playing Illinois on Thanksgiving Day. You're playing Michigan at Madison Square Garden. It should be a fun season ahead. And as I asked just a minute ago, I just got one question. Can anything stop the big invasion? If you want one of those tees, make sure to check it out at aarontorresonline.com/merchandise. Appreciate your support. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe.